Do, 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 do. It's just you and me, Ling Ling. That's okay. Did you have any questions about anything in terms of, it could be lab? I know you're in Bio 33. So study like tips, tricks.
I have to keep an eye on my baby. So sometimes I kind of focus on the session, This class, I think the lab, usually the lab, it's in the classroom. So the professor is talking so fast. It's faster for me. So sometimes I confuse. But I don't know. Usually I need to catch up by myself. There are a lot of, I think I have a lot of questions about them.
Well, maybe that review, if you can make it on Friday, maybe that'll help you kind of go at your own pace. And, you can bring your, if you have a computer, you can bring it and you can watch a lecture. And if you can go back and forth since it's a recording. And then when you rewatch the lecture, if you have a question, we can answer it in real time. And we can discuss certain topics with you. We can talk about it. I could write it out. I could show you with something in the lab. So if you can make it on Friday, I think that would definitely help you. And I know you have other classes. So if you you know, if you do feel like you're falling behind, usually it's like you kind of have to cram over the weekend. I know it sucks. And it feels like you have twice as long as a week because you're not getting a break. But sometimes it's like, you know, you need to sprint to the finish line, right? So if you have any questions, like, you know, you can send them to me on Remind, and I will do my best to explain them. And if I can't explain them in the character limits of Remind, I will like give you a document basically with pictures, with an explanation. I will do my best to get you the answers that you guys need. And then on top of it, I will, you know, if it's a question that you bring to my attention through a private message on Remind, and then somebody else sends me a similar message, or we talk about it in one of these sessions, I bring it up to Dr. B so that she can go over it again with you guys. So if it's like a common, like, I don't understand this, I make sure that I let her know so that she's not going to exploit that. And she's not going to be like, I'm going to make the whole test about this one thing because nobody understands it. She wants you guys to learn. And I want you guys to learn because we care about microbiology, and we want you to see you guys care too. I've really found it to be like a great subject. I really enjoy it. And obviously Dr. B has made it for life. So we want to share that passion with you, and we want you to get pumped about micro. It's a fun thing. It's a little bit complicated. So, you know, we want you guys to have fun with it, and we want you guys to know the material, and you guys will feel like brainiacs at the end. You're like, I know about all this stuff, and if I ever try to talk to anybody about it, it's a bunch of random words spewing out of my mouth that they don't understand. I feel smart. Maybe that's why we like it. We're like, man, I feel smart. But again, we want you guys to succeed, and we want to see you guys not cry over homework. We don't want you guys to feel pain in this class. We will help you guys through it as much as we can. That's why I came on, because Caesar was getting stretched a little thin because he was doing some Melena's reviews. He was doing all of Dr. B's reviews. So what wound up happening was that there were so many people coming at him with questions that he could only give a little bit of himself and only a little bit of time and attention to those questions to explain them fully. So it wasn't maybe the attention, you know, that everybody needed. And so if you need a little bit more one-on-one attention, if you need somebody to walk you through it or draw it out, whatever, like, I'm your gal. I don't mind drawing it out on paper and giving it to you. I already done that once. I had somebody in lab, they were like, I'm confused trying to visualize how to streak for isolation. So I drew it out. I said, okay, this is how you do it. And I showed them physically how to do it, and it made more sense. So I promise it helps. Like, I want to help you guys. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and like type them. You can unmute yourselves. No question is a dumb question. I promise you.
How would you say the lab portion of the exam is?
I will say that the first one is probably the most hands-on you'll get. There's going to be a little bit of a practicing part, so you will have to gram stain on the exam. That's just a skill that you'll have to know, because you're going to do it more as the year progresses. It's not just a one and done thing. So you'll have to gram stain. You will probably have to do something with identifying a certain arrangement via gram stain, it might be a picture, it might be what you actually gram stain, but you won't know what you gram stain. Usually it's just unknown and you have to identify it. There will also be plates sitting out and you have to interpret them. So you have to know how to interpret your normal TSA plate, your EMB and your MSA plates. You will also have to say, you know, what is a good streak? You know, what's a good streak for isolation? And I think you guys
interpreting, do you mean like CBEST?
Interpreting as in CBEST, but also it could be something like, you know, an MSA plate that turned yellow. It could be a question on the lab portion of the exam. It's like, what process happened on here? Or did this microorganism undergo fermentation?
So would you say it's like a lot of critical thinking?
Yes, you have to take what you're looking at and say what happened. You have to ask yourself questions, and in order to ask the question on the paper. But definitely a lot of critical thinking. Some, even the multiple choice, are pretty critical thinking. You know, you have to reason it out, and if you maybe are only a little bit sure of your answer, sometimes you do have to like spend a minute on it. It's not just memorization all the time. So for this one, it is a little bit more critical thinking, and I'm trying to think of what else could be on there. Basically anything you've done in lab, free game. You might want to go back over some of the lab manual questions. I promise you that they're a little more clear on the actual exam. So like those select all that apply, usually not the case. Instead, it will ask you a question like that, and you have to kind of explain it in your own words. And there might be multiple things working at once that you have to explain. That's why the questions are usually like worth a lot of points, is because if you get this topic, but you miss this one, then you can get like half credit. Does that make sense?
Yes. So is there like questions where you have to write out your explanation?
Yes.
Okay.
There are some like matching. There are some, and most of the lab is just write out. Most of the lab stuff is just kind of short answer. Dr. B is not too much of a stickler. I know some other people, some other professors specifically, they are more of like a, you know, if you don't spell it right, you're not getting the point. And although that might be important in A&P for like certain vessels or certain bones, things like that, if you spell those wrong, it could mean a totally different thing. But like, there's not a whole lot of words that are similar to medieval. So if you spell that wrong, it's not really gonna be that big of a deal. She'll understand what you're saying. Also, I don't ever see your exams, by the way. But she'll know what you mean. And as long as you explain something logically and it makes sense, she'll give you the point. It's not how do I put this? It's not really like a, you know, you're walking on eggshells trying to figure it like exactly what words she wants. She wants you to get the idea. It's not like copying it straight from the textbook. So you don't have to say that, like give an exact word for word definition. I like that a lot about the exams. That's probably why I did well, was that she wasn't looking for those key words, although sometimes I would remember them. She was just looking for concepts. And if you like bounced around a concept and you like explained it really in detail, but you just missed the word, sometimes if you say like, you know, I get this concept, I just don't know what the word is, she might give you the first letter. Like if she's feeling good about it and you explained it very well, you're just missing what it is, like the title, she might just be like, you know, she might just give you a little bit of a hint. And if you ever need clarification on a question, feel free to raise your hand. I missed quite a few questions on the first exam because I was too scared to raise my hand and ask a question. So even if it's small, like, you know, I don't know, like, I want to make sure that this number is this number. She's gonna understand. Study, but don't freak out. So I hope that alleviated some stress, because I know the bio 32 and 33, I would always like feel like I'm gonna throw up. Like during the exam and after the exam and like before the exam, I was like nauseous the whole time. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna miss so many points just because I don't know the words. I can't ask for clarifications on these questions. And you know, I'm just gonna miss a whole bunch. So but it's in person, you can ask questions, you can relax, and it's all right there in front of you. It's gonna be okay. But I said this once and I'll say it forevermore. Let me pull it up. Okay. Let me show you guys. So on every single module for the exams, like exam 1, 2, 3, and 4, on every single one of those, the very bottom of the page. Also, I have another thing to say about what's at the bottom of these pages. Oh, I was like, what's happening? So obviously you have your information, right? All of your pages. The Jeopardies, she'll never pull a question from these. Don't try to memorize them. Spend your time elsewhere. This is more of like, even some of the questions on here aren't things that she necessarily covers or wants you to know in great detail. If you go on here and decide to use these, look at it from the angle of, okay, this seems familiar, but I don't know a whole lot about it. Let me go back to study it. Not like I have no idea what this is at all, because more likely than not, it's just something that she didn't cover. It's not something that she wants you to know. I think Lab 5 practice worksheet. I think this is just extra plates, but these are the things that you want to see. The practical study guide is just, let me see if it'll open big enough or if it's going to be small. Yay. So the practical study guide, it tells you exactly what you need to do. Be able to tell when to use a line, bar, pie, or mapping graph. That's the big takeaway. This tells you exactly what you need to know from each lab. And if you don't understand it or you can't explain it to me as to how, like, be able to streak for isolation using a 4-quadrant technique, if you can't explain to me how to do that, then it's a go back and practice it thing, right? Like these just tell you, and not only that, but it asks you questions. You can rewrite this stuff down and explain it using your own words, or you can just answer the questions that are like scattered in here. Again, right here. So go through this and, you know, answer these questions. Define the things that she wants you to define. It's a really good study material. As soon as I started using this, I will tell you, I've gotten 100% on the lab portions because I use this. It's a great study material. And then I believe this PowerPoint just kind of goes over like results, what you should see. Let me see what it is. Yeah, it's just, this is from Melina. So yeah, so again, we have a chart. We need to be able to identify certain things on this chart, read a chart. So if I asked you, was there a greater number of cases for the Zika virus in week 7 of 2016 or in week 9? You should be able to answer that. So this is week 7, this is week 9, right? Just being able to read any kind of those graphs. Wavelength is going to be 1. Identifying parts of the microscope, understanding what oil immersion is and how it works with light refraction. Things like that. Like these are pulled almost straight from some of your lecture stuff. And some of this is pulled straight from like, you know, like the microscopes. When she kind of lectured a little bit in lab about microscopes, this stuff is some of the stuff you can see. But yeah, you'll need to know different types of broth results. But yeah, so that's another good one. These are different. I probably will look at them, like go over some of the lab stuff and try to focus a little bit on lecture 2 about probably Monday, because it's going to be my biggest day. Monday, but also Thursday, and all these power surges. But those are great things to use. These movies right here, if you need to help visualize how it should look like, not how to do it. And my dogs. I'm sorry if you hate the sound of dogs. I'm gonna mute myself. Okay, now that that's over. But yes, reviewing some of these, the lab is probably the easier one to study for, in my opinion. If you're a more physical, kinesthetic learner, lab is going to be so easy to study for. You just do this stuff and you do it over and over, and you go to lab and you reinforce it. Lecture is where it's like, I cannot like focus on any of this. So that's why I have the review slides in Remind that I sent out. Those will help get you kind of going with, do I understand this concept or do I not understand it? Going back into the slides and drawing out some of the actual graphs and visuals might also help. But yeah, is there any questions on like, I don't know, I kind of went over the structure of the exam studies. Yeah, I mean, we're at time, so if you guys don't want to stay anymore, you guys can go if you'd like. Enjoy your Wednesday evening. It's hump day is almost over. I know it's like the longest day of the week. But yeah.
I just have one more question.
Yeah, go for it.
Is there any part in the lab where we have to draw anything or map out anything, like the cycle or anything like that?
I will say I'm not 100% sure, but I would still highly recommend you to be able to picture something like that. So like the Krebs cycle, for example, or the respiration lineage, right? I would encourage you to draw that until you can draw it from memory. Because if you go into the exam and it's going to ask you a critical thinking question about cellular respiration or about fermentation, it's going to help you just drawing that out and then say, okay, it's asking me this specific thing about respiration, find that section. And then instead of trying to think about what comes before, what comes after, if I'm jumbling it up, whatever, you're able to look at it and understand what we're talking about, kind of like what specifically is happening in this scenario, and then critically think about it. It's kind of like just taking it a step at a time rather than like mental math in it, like jumbling it up. Like that's like a very I highly recommend thing, is even on like the lecture portion, there are some little bit complex questions, multiple choice questions, that if you draw it out on the side, she's not going to dock you points. You can draw all over the exam. You can doodle on it for all she cares. As long as you're answering the question, then that's all she cares about. So if you want to draw a graph on the side that helps you visualize and helps you understand what the question is asking, go for it. I highly encourage drawing all over your exam. If it helps with your line of thought, I know mine looked like some like crazy scientist notes, because it would be like one thing here, fitting like a bunch of things all over the page. And it wasn't organized. My handwriting doesn't even look the best. Like it would be quite literally like, I don't know, reading hieroglyphs. Like it was my brain going onto the page. And then I was going to be like, okay, from what of it that's in my brain, what information can answer this question? That's basically what I did. So yeah, that I recommend that. But if you're more of a memorization person, then go for it. If you aren't so much of a visuals person, I was always visual. I always had to have some kind of drawing. I remember for halophiles, like when I was doing my notes, like I like to add little drawings in the margins. So what I did, here, let me make it a little bit bigger. What I did was I made this little drawing of a salt shaker. And I like, you know, like the mom tattoos, it's like a heart and it says mom across the side. Like this is what it gave me, the vibe. So like I just did a heart, halophiles, and a little salt. It helped me remember that halophiles love salt. Like silly stuff like that will help you remember. And it's unique to you. So make your exam look like the cover of Napoleon Dynamite. Who cares? So how do we feel? Gotta check. Yeah, no problem. Have a good night. If you guys want to go, you guys can. I'm not keeping you. I just want to make sure that I got your questions.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And anybody in Thursday lab, I'll see you tomorrow. So Hannah, any questions for me, or any other things you would like me to go over? You don't have to stay. I know sometimes people also listen to this in the background. So if you're not even like here, it's okay. Yeah, no problem. Do you have any questions for me? No questions yet? Okay. Well, if you don't have any questions, and if there's nothing you'd like me to go over, you're more than free to go. I don't plan on really reviewing anything else. Okay, perfect. I know I talk forever. I don't know how my vocal cords aren't gone yet, but I talk until somebody stops me, and usually that's just like I don't have any more questions. So yeah, are you taking, by the way, are you taking Bio 33? Just this class. Okay. So this is your only class in the semester? Okay. I did the same thing. If you want an A, you can get an A, I promise. You just have to kind of sell your soul to the class a little bit, but I promise it's worth it. I'm not like a salesperson for like the devil. Like I'm not trying to get your soul, but like, but it's possible. I don't want you to think that's impossible, but just, you know, since you're able to, because I was working and I also did this class only, you're going to be able to, if you apply yourself. But yeah, also take the VARC answers that you got and use them to the fullest extent in order to, you know, in order to study the way that you are supposed to study. Because if I were to try to read over and over and over like a lecture material or like slides, then I would never get anywhere. But if I rewrote them, or if I kind of drew out the ideas, I would get somewhere. So using those to your to the best of your abilities, really important. But yeah, if you like just watching things, I recommend Crash Course. They have some good microbiology stuff. So these movies in here, pretty good. Sometimes you can also just find like biology professors that are from like, I don't know, some other college in the Midwest. And they have some pretty good like review, just to look at or to receive information in a different way. It'll help. So any other questions, or you're free to go. You don't have to stay. I'm not holding you hostage, I promise. Okay, bye. Have a good night.